Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Richard and I'm the Bull Rider. And if you're new to the channel, I'm currently pulling the motor out of my 115,000 mile Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera. And it's going pretty well, and I was pulling the transmission and then I finally pulled the clutch that I have in my hands. And it really made me think. And I really wanted to give you one tip when it comes to driving these cars and this single plate clutch, because there's so much information out there regarding how to drive this car, how to drive an F1 E-gear style clutch mechanism that comes on a lot of older Ferraris, the Gallardo, the Aventador, so on and so forth. And there's so much information out there that it seems almost overwhelming to even consider driving your car. But today I wanted to give you one tip that I can give you when it comes to driving this car. And then really I wanted to start with a story. So I have another car, which is an Audi S4, and I built this car from the ground up with big turbos, built motor, built transmission, everything. And on ethanol, it has about 600 wheel horsepower. And I built this for one purpose, and it's road course racing and drag racing. I worked at this car for years, and I built it up so much in my head that the car had to be absolutely perfect before I ever went anywhere in it. And honestly, it really limited a lot of my life. And what's interesting is one day I worked up the nerve to actually just go to the drag strip with my wife. And what's funny is I was working on a supercapacitor array to replace the battery at the time on the car. And so sometimes the car would start and sometimes not. I was still working out the kinks. And so we just, on a whim, went to the drag strip, and it wasn't sorted whatsoever. The thing barely ran, and I just wanted to do it. And I just thought, okay, let's just do it. Let's just go to the drag strip and go there. And the first couple times, honestly, the car bogged out, and it was honestly really embarrassing. So I changed the tuning parameters, and then I went out again and then tried it again. And then it bogged out again, and I tried something else. And that went on for a little bit, and then I finally started getting it sorted a little bit. And because of the supercapacitor array, I actually stalled it out in the pits, and people had to push it out of the way. It was just extremely embarrassing. But at the end of the day, I finally got the car sorted enough to where it was actually making a really good pass, and I was launching it, and it was making a really good pass down the strip, to the point where I was actually beating Hellcats from a dig, and in my little four-door silver Audi. So honestly, it really made me take a step back when it came to owning that car, and what I should really be looking for when it comes to that car, and how I should own it, and what I should do with it, and how I build something up in my head so much that it's almost overwhelming and intimidating when it comes to actually enjoying and appreciating the car. And this is how I wanted to relate it to this clutch. Honestly, when I pulled the clutch out of this car, there's so much misinformation about it, but in reality, all it is just a couple pressure forks, some friction material, a pressure plate, and a flywheel. It might cost a little bit more than a normal clutch, and because of the gearing and the driving style and the way people drive their cars, it might last a little bit less than a normal clutch. And I think as supercar owners or as purchasers of supercars, I think we have to be okay with that. And I think that there's so much information out there regarding this transmission and how you should drive it. And if you're going down a hill, you have to put it in neutral, but you can't put it in neutral if you have a pre-LP car. And it's insane how many tips and tricks you have when it comes to driving an E-gear car or a manual car to extend the life of the clutch. And you can't drive it in the city. And it's completely overwhelming. And I'm gonna give you one tip. And it's just gonna be, drive your car. That's all I can really tell you. And I think that's something that I think you really need to hear, because replacing this clutch, should it be the end of your life? Okay, you have to pull the transmission, you pull the clutch out, put a new one in, go to the Lamborghini dealership or another authorized service dealership, and then you have them reprogram the E-gear, and then you're done, right? You could probably get this done if you're a DIY guy like me in about a day. There's so much information out there that people are so concerned about every little thing about the E-gear system, but in reality, you shouldn't be. These clutches should last 40,000 miles. And if you have a car with 15,000 miles on it, you have nothing to be concerned about. So what I'm gonna tell you is just drive your car, enjoy your car. If you need to back it up in reverse, back it up in reverse. And if you need to leave it in gear when you're coming down a hill in reverse, leave it in gear, that's okay. And if you need to drive it in the city because you wanna take your wife out on the town, do that. I don't see the problem with that. And I think what happens is a lot of people limit their life when it comes to this car and how they can own it and how they can appreciate it and enjoy it. because you're gonna remember the time you took your significant other to that fancy restaurant in town in the Lamborghini, a lot more than you're gonna remember the minuscule amount of clutch that you destroyed going from a stoplight to stoplight to stoplight. And I really think it detracts from the appreciation of the car. And I think at the end of the day, I think you're gonna enjoy your car a lot more than if you were worried about every single little tiny minuscule detail regarding how to drive the car and what's best for the transmission and what's worst for the transmission. So that's all I really have for you today. And I'm gonna work on pulling this motor. But until next time, thanks.